you can definitely watch from a good distance. Just try and stay at least 10 meters, 10 to 15 meters away, at the very least. So I'm just kind of gonna go through what I do in a map, and I'm gonna explain it. And I think you're gonna learn a lot by just. Okay, guys, please seriously back away from the live from me. I need people to be able to see. So I'm gonna go through what I do. So if somebody could hit the lever, I'm not. I think one of the teachers might have to. I can just do it actually. The lever. I think. Just leave it open. So I'm gonna drop in, and obviously I wouldn't have anything in my inventory, and the very first thing I do is I do a little sprint jump to get into the ice. Actually, before I even do that, I've gotten ahead of myself a little bit. Actually, while you're in the box, there is something you can do to help yourself out. And that thing that you can do is to set your slots. Again, please back away from me, folks. Is to set your slots. And what I mean by that is I'm going to press 9 right now before the match has started, and my 9th slot is selected. And now if somebody would please hit that lever and let me drop down. Anybody?
I broke it, sorry.
Okay.
A lot of spam.
Just break one of the redstone or something. I'll just break one of the glasses. Okay. So now I have my 9th slot selected, and when you shift click an item from a chest into your inventory, the 9th slot is the first one that gets filled. So when I open this chest and take out an item, I'm going to take out the bow very first thing, and I'm going to have that bow selected, and then I'm going to get all the other items from this chest too. And now I have the bow selected. I don't have to fumble around with my mouse wheel or slots. I'm going to be able to just start shooting immediately, and if that's my role, if I'm going to start shooting, it's going to help a lot. Actually, when I was playing this map, I wasn't shooting immediately. I was actually rushing ahead to try and build a little path. So what I did is I actually grabbed the sword first. So I would use my sword. Let me put myself in survival. This is something that's kind of important to know. Swords break blocks faster than just punching them. So if you have a sword at the beginning of the map and you don't have a pickaxe or a shovel, again, please do give me a little bit of space here. You can break blocks just a little bit faster, and that's what I'm talking about with the little advantages. If you time breaking down a log with a sword versus just punching it, you can do it, I think it's like 25% faster, and those little advantages add up. Now, actually, one of the big things I want to talk about is bridge building, and bridge building on this map in particular, because there's actually a lot to it, and I feel like it actually was a critical component of our strategy when we were playing this map. And there's just a lot of little things you can do with respect to the bridge building. So for this map, you have to build a bridge across. The resources that you have to do it, there's mostly just dirt and wood back in the backfield here. And if you use your sword to break them, it turns out you can get resources just a little bit faster by breaking down wood. It looks like the server may have frozen or crashed, but I'm going to keep talking for a sec. Okay. We're good. You can actually get planks slightly faster than you can get dirt, so that's something that you'll want to test out when you're at the beginning of the map, how you can more quickly get resources. All right, let me just Super Looster is breaking blocks. So let me just get rid of him. Please don't break any blocks, guys. So we found that you could get blocks a little bit faster by using planks. And so Disco would grab planks while the rest of us were giving him cover, and then he would start building. And so this map, there's several ways that you can approach the bridge, and I've actually seen several different ways work somewhat successfully, but we actually came up with our way that we thought was sort of the best out of all of our options. Guys, please stop crowding me. I'm going to have the teacher start kicking you if you are crowding me, okay? So, I mean, what occurs to most people first is just to build a bridge straight across here. And I'm using sandstone, but we would be using planks in the actual match. And that's just because it looks like it's the route that you're supposed to take. But the route that you're supposed to take in maps is often not the route that you should take. So this, if you do it right here, you actually get it one block sooner because it hits up with this, it meets up with this one right here. And so you can do it with fewer blocks. You don't have to spend as much time collecting. And there's other options. You can build in the back of the lane, and if you do that, you actually have a bit of cover while you're building, and it's farther away. It makes it harder for your opponents to shoot you, which is also a nice benefit. Plus, if you do it here, you can build a little barrier as you're going along. If you collect some extra resources that you can build, and it'll protect you as you're building the bridge. What we ended up doing, I think, is a nice balance of speed and protection. And here's what we ended up doing on this bridge. When I came along first, I had 5 blocks of dirt. So what I would do is I would put 2 blocks here, and we would start building a barrier. Here are the 5 blocks that I would place. And then I would go over to do some PvP action to cover Disco, who was building the rest of the bridge. And Disco, once he collected enough blocks, he would start going along the bridge. And what he would do is he would place 2 blocks in the barrier and 1 block underneath him. 2 blocks in the barrier, 1 block underneath him. And if you guys will follow me over here, and you can actually crowd on me here, because if you stand over in this area by the trees on the bridge over here, you can all come over here and just stay there while I go back over to the bridge, because I want you to see the angle that you have on me as I'm building. And I'm holding shift as I'm doing this, so you can't see my name tag very well. And as I build blocks on this bridge, you can't actually really see me. There's a very, very small sliver of me that you can hit with an arrow, but it's very, very difficult. And so basically Disco had pretty much complete protection as he was building this. And it was possible for him to get hit, and he did get hit off occasionally. And then once he got 4 blocks away, he could just complete it here. The most important thing is that you're just not able to be shot while you're building the bridge, but while you're sprinting over, you're pretty hard to get shot. So it's okay not to build a protective barrier on the last bit of the bridge. It's just important to complete it, not to have protection for the whole bridge. And so this turned out to be a really, really good combination of speed and protection, because falling off while you're carrying all those resources to build a bridge can set you back pretty far. Some teams tried to rush and just build without this barrier, and the problem that you have there is that, well, our strategy, our tactics at the beginning of the map were designed to account for that. And here's how. When I placed those first 5 blocks, like I mentioned before, it was these 5 blocks. After I was done with that, I immediately went back and gained myself a PvP position. And the way I would do that is I would just sprint back up on this tree, and let's see, which tree did I actually end up using? I think in the finals I ended up using over here. And so when I'm please back away, guys. Seriously, okay. Could someone please kick this guy, Jehu? Yeah, thank you. When I yeah.
Okay, Jehu,
TP him away. Okay. The problem is when he logs back in, he's
if he
right
comes back, can you teleport into the lobby, A-Dog?
Yeah.
I thought he would teleport back to the lobby, but my bad.
Alright, survive is it.
Oh, hey, you're back.
Yep.
I'm just talking about the bridge building. I went over how to build it with cover. Now I'm talking about the PvP. So,
yep.
My role once I built that section of the bridge was just to stand up on this tree and use the tree for cover, so that I could shoot at anyone who was trying to build a bridge on the opposite lane. But no one from anywhere else in the opposite lane could actually shoot me. If you want to go to the opposite lane, you can see there's nowhere that you can actually see me except for on top of the bridge, which leaves you very, very vulnerable. So this spot gives me perfect coverage if somebody does try and rush on the other bridge, and I can just aim right at them, and there's nothing anyone can do to dislodge me from that position except for put themselves in extreme danger. And so you're sort of forcing the other team at that point to either build protection or just make very slow progress as they keep getting shot off the bridge. And I think it's really hard to deal with that sort of strategy. So I think that is one of the best strategies or one of the best, I guess, using the word strategy, but I mean, it's all a bunch of tactics right there.
Have you mentioned the advantage of being on the right lane in the sense that your bow fire is better?
Yeah, let me talk about that now a bit. this is a great point to talk about lane picking. Now, normally at the beginning of the match, there's a sumo. There's a sumo match that will determine which team gets to pick the lane. And since the lanes are symmetric, you might think it only depends on maybe if you practice one lane more than the other or not. But there are some slight asymmetries between the lanes, and this spot right here gives me a good point to talk about one of the big ones that I was considering. Someone set fire over to the other portion of the map. Could someone please take care of that? Thank you.
I'll do it.
And the asymmetry right here is that if you pull out a bow, please don't shoot any arrows, but if you pull out a bow, you'll notice it's on the right side of your body. And if you shoot it, it actually does come from the right side of your body, which means, Chris, could you please move? Which means if you are shooting from behind cover, you can actually get a lot more cover if the cover's on the left side of your body. And that means that if there's a spot like this that you're depending on, and it's critical to defending from the other team building a bridge or something like that, you might really prefer this side to the other side, where I can keep that cover on the left side and shoot off my right side and get much better cover from this side of the lane. So that's one asymmetry that you should consider when you are deciding which lane to practice more and which lane to pick when you win the sumo.
Have you gone over food choice at all?
I haven't. Why don't you talk about it?
All right, so
this is CraftDynasty or Tree, by the way.
Yeah.
He's on the Redstoners with me, and he is also very good.
Okay, so in terms of picking food, you generally don't want to go for the melons because, as you know, they only heal 1 heart per melon, and they're just really time-consuming and just time well spent elsewhere. So for our matches on direct fire, we generally used wheat, but we didn't waste any of our time picking up this wheat in this farm.
And definitely don't replant it.
Right.
That's just a big waste of time.
Yeah. I was in a match yesterday where someone had the idea of planting saplings but yeah, it's just a time-consuming effort. So we only use this farm for water buckets. But anyway, generally map makers will put different types of...
Oh, let me interrupt real quick. Tree's tag is what it to you. So that's
Right.
the guy that's talking right now. That's the
Yeah.
guy that you should be following. But don't follow him too closely.
Yeah. So in this map, there are a ton of equipment chests where Vechs puts in stacks of wheat, which Sethbling used later on to craft for each of us. And that's just a lot easier to manage. It heals 2.5 hearts per 2.5 hunger bars per swallow. So.
And there's some other interesting things you can do with crafting benches in order to craft things more efficiently. When I'm crafting large quantities of bread, for example, I don't know if there's any good way to demonstrate this other than just talking about it. If you take a crafting bench and you put there's a lot of chests in this map that give you stacks of 64 wheat. So I had a stack of 64 wheat. I would put that stack on the left side of the crafting bench. Then I would right-click on the stack and grab half of it, which is 32, and put that in the middle slot. And I would grab half of that and put it in the right slot. And then I could shift-click on the bread and grab 16 bread. And then I would repeat that process a couple times in order to get even stacks of wheat so that I could... But it's much quicker than trying to like right-click 20 times or whatever on each spot in order to get the right amount of wheat.
Just split the stacks each time.
Yeah, and then you want to talk about the armor crafting tree?
Yeah, so everyone come back down the lane towards the beginning platform, where I guess many of you saw this large crafting table. There are multiple ways of doing this. This is Seth's version, because...
Actually, I use a slightly different version with the chest plate.
Yeah, as do I.
But this is just as good.
So this will get you the pant legs, the helmet, and then the boots in that order. So this is just a quick way to make a set of armor really quickly, and if you want to make multiple sets, you just multiply each.
Actually, there is a slight bug here. I think it should say 3 for the side slots.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah. So it should say on the two sides, it should say 3 rather than 2. And basically the idea is you can just put this into the crafting slot on the crafting bench, put this pattern in, and then just shift click 3 times from the output slot on the crafting bench, and you'll get those 3 pieces of armor. And if you want to craft multiple pieces of armor at a time, which I did yesterday in our show match, you can just multiply these numbers by 2 or 3 or however many sets you want to craft.
Yep.
And you can still shift click. It'll work really well.
And you generally want only one person focused on armor making. When Etho did this and went up to the tower to get leather armor, he would make the armor for me too. So it just saves time for someone who could rather be shooting at the enemy or something like that.
Right. It's just anytime you can save time, it's just so valuable. Especially when a map has been refined a bit and teams are quick on it. Every little bit of time that you can save is really important.
Yep.
All right. Okay. What's next? Let's see. Actually, I have a little list.
Well, this is getting dangerously close to cannon building, but what I also did was we needed to wait for water before we had any TNT cannons, but before that, I would carve out templates for Etho, so all he would have to do would be to pop the water in. If we can go to the mountain area over at Chasing Ladder.
Way down towards the end of the lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was a chest towards the beginning that gives you ladders, which I took a bit of, and I would carve out.
He didn't take all the ladders critically. Yeah. Like leaving some of the ladders is really important because I ended up using ladders occasionally to fix some mistakes that I made.
Right. So the template I would just make would be to dig 2 down, pop in, and get the cobblestone, and this would get me blocks to eventually pillar up or build a bridge, and then carve it out like this, and put pressure plates in the middle here and on the side here. So all we had to wait for was Seth's trip for iron, and then we would have at that point buckets for water, and then Etho could do his thing. We're not actually blowing that up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a close one. And this is the specifics of this cannon are not too important. The main point is that when we didn't have the resources yet for the cannon, it didn't mean we couldn't start working on it. And being able to start blowing up those cannons as soon as we got the TNT ended up coming in really handy, and especially in one of the practice matches where the other team was most of the way done with the chutes and ladders section, and finally we managed to blow up their ladders in the very last section because we had those cannon templates ready, and we were just able to blow them up real quick.
Okay, so have you talked about choosing paths that are safer?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so generally the map maker lays out paths that that you assume that you need to use, but they're not absolutely the best choice in terms of getting to your route. So
come back towards the beginning of the map.
Yes. So Sethbling was in charge of getting iron all the way down here. You'll see there's 6 iron blocks, and there's a lot of ladders, and it's very exposed. So instead, he chose to... Here, why don't you show what you...
Yeah, so instead of doing that, I realized that there's no bedrock in here preventing you from digging through, and also it's very quick to dig through sandstone. So it actually takes about the same amount of time to... If you come into... Well, don't come in here. But if you come into this building and just start digging down, you can just dig straight down, and you'll end up in one of the iron rooms. And another thing about this, once I finish digging the path, you can see. So now I've popped out in the iron room. You can go check out where that is. But it's very quick to do that. And another thing about that is I was able to hold shift the entire time that I was doing that, which will hide my tag from the other team. So they won't even necessarily know where I am while I'm doing this. They might think... Maybe he's back farther on the map, or maybe he is doing that. So you can hide that information from the opposing team, and that might give them less information to decide what they need to be focusing on, especially when it was so critical to get down here and build that TNT cannon. Because we built the Chaos Cannon down here in the Iron Room, and if they don't know whether or not we're on our way down there, they might not know whether, like, how to make the decision of whether to send someone down to get the iron, or if it's too late and they're already going to have their iron blown up.
And a really good thing that you can consider is just, I know that yesterday when we couldn't find half the other team in our showcase match, it was disconcerting because we didn't know what they were doing, if they were making progress or not, if they had a wool without us even knowing.
Right.
So you usually want to keep track of all the other players.
I make it a habit anytime I'm going up a ladder or digging straight down or digging horizontally too. You can actually hold shift the entire time, and if you make a habit of it, it's just going to give the other team less information and it's not going to cost you anything. So it's just a great habit to get into for this type of map. Okay, well, we have 5 minutes left in the map. I feel like we've touched on a lot of different areas where people can focus on coming up with the tactics of their own. And we've talked about a lot of specifics of direct fire, but really you should be thinking about the types of things we've been talking about: information and cover, and covering the opposing team, and just thinking about that sort of stuff when you're developing your own tactics, because they're going to depend heavily on the specific map that you're playing. But I would love to open up to questions now, unless you have anything you really want to talk about, Tree.
Did you mention slots?
I did mention slots.
Okay.
I mentioned it very first thing. And if you go back and watch our old matches, you'll hear us say slots, and we'll actually set our slots, and so we actually do practice it ourselves. All these things we were doing ourselves. So. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so teachers or teachers' assistants, how can people ask questions?
If you want to ask a question, if you go onto your Mumble screen, on the top toolbar, you'll see a yellow squarish thing with a big capital C in it. If you click on that, it will say change your comment, type a message in there, and we'll check it and relay it to Seth.
All right. Are there any questions yet?
I see some.
We have 8-Bit Jew asking if there's anything about water ladders.
I mean, water ladders are certainly useful. We've used water in the past to descend quickly. Actually, that's I think that's a fairly well-known technique. But if you just place down water and then pick it back up, you can
really quickly get down.
And I mean, I think a lot of you have probably seen the strategy we employed in direct fire with water. But if you can also use water. So let me just grab a bucket of water real quick. Come down to the very end of the map. Yeah, I mean, you can use water to get down this entire hill very, very quickly by just pouring down water and picking it right back up and just trailing down. You have to be careful to make sure you don't get pushed off the edge of the map by accident, but you can just walk right down this thing. And you're gonna have to make sure that you have a way of getting back up. So you might want some blocks or something to be able to tower back up. But this sort of water to get down is very nice. Going back up a water ladder like that can be very time consuming because going against the flow is very slow. But you can keep doing this thing, and this is what we did in a couple of the matches, to build an obsidian floor along the lava by just placing water, picking it back up. So even with a single bucket, you can do a lot when it comes to lava or vertical drops.
Yep.
Okay, next question.
They're commonly asking any tactics for the last area. Pain water.
Okay, I'll go over that since I was in charge of doing that.
Probably not in the right lane. Please don't disrupt the left lane if you can avoid it, guys.
Okay, so what we found was that there are certain weak points in the lava that we can quickly get between water lanes. And so for this one, this lava gap is only half a block. Just one block wide. Well, to be fair, in 1.1, diamond armor was very overpowered.
I just thought yesterday I saw somebody use leather armor to get through these things, so it's still very possible.
Yeah, but you would generally just find these one block gaps and just swim through them and just try to take any golden apples as you can, and just take whatever. Yeah, just take a couple of hearts of damage, and then once you finally get to the wool room, just recover there. There's some more golden apples there, and you should be able to make your way back. Arrow fire usually doesn't affect your progress for getting through this maze.
It's pretty hard to hit someone here. I think
Yeah.
the main lesson to take away from this, though, and if you want to apply it to other maps, is that sometimes it's okay to take a little bit of damage to accomplish your goal more quickly. Especially if you've evaluated it beforehand and you know how much damage you're going to take. Alright, any other questions?
Just to clarify, we have 2 more minutes. You're allowed to run over 5, if that's alright with you, Seth.
There is a question. If you aren't able to give yourself cover, like if you're in a one wide bedrock corridor, what are some good ways to minimize damage?
Well, what I would say is if you know that anybody is nearby, so chutes and ladders is the main area in this map where you have that problem. If you know that anybody is nearby on the other team, just don't start doing it. Like, don't go in that area. You need to make sure that you have that the coast is clear. And if somebody does come while you're doing that, I think the best advice that I could give is to try and just dodge around. Actually, just randomize your movements side to side. That can help a bit. And make sure that somebody is ready to cover you if you are in this area. We always had Etho covering Disco whenever he came down here, and Etho was always able to distract whoever was shooting at Disco and make sure that Disco was not going to just be constantly pelted with arrows because he was able to shoot at whoever was shooting at Disco. So there's not much you can do if you find yourself in that situation, though, so you need to prepare for that situation before you get into it and make sure that you just don't get into a bad situation like that.
Yep.
There is a lot about sumo.
Sumo.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think either of us have really done much in the way of sumo.
You left that to Etho.
Jump
But,
a lot, I guess. I see people
yeah.
jumping a lot, and
Strafe.
when you sprint and hit, it's obviously much better. Strafing can help you avoid punches because they're not expecting it. But that's something I don't know. I think you just need to practice on your own. It just takes a bit of experience with all the timings and everything.
Are unconventional or unsafe TNT cannons a good idea?
Well, depends on what you mean by unsafe. Unconventional TNT cannons can be great. I mean, unconventional TNT cannons are just unconventional because they haven't hit the mainstream yet. When we first did our Chaos Cannon, it was both unconventional and unsafe, but it was super effective in stopping the other team in their tracks. And in fact, in one of the practice matches that I posted on my channel recently, the Chaos Cannon we used there actually did come back and kill me, but it was a risk that we were willing to take even after we knew that could happen, because it was so rare that would happen, and it was so devastating to the other team. And so yeah, it's definitely okay to use unsafe. You need to evaluate the risk very carefully beforehand, though. If you are going to do that, do not try and build a TNT cannon on the fly. If you don't know what you're doing building a TNT cannon, you're just better off not doing it at all and trying to find some other way to accomplish what you need to do, because it's very, very hard to develop one on the fly. It can take hours to develop a good TNT cannon.
And you might have mentioned this already, but TNT can be used really well for gathering blocks, especially sand.
Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, that is one of the strategies we employed in some of the later matches. Is we created basically just a tunnel and put a bunch of TNT in it in order to collect a bunch of sandstone blocks, because Disco needed a bunch of sandstone blocks for his strategy. So we just basically TNT mined in order to gather a few stacks of blocks very quickly, and we found it to be a bit faster than mining blocks by hand. I think we're probably about out of time for questions. I don't want to go on too much longer. In summary, though, again, the specifics on this map are probably not that important to most of you, because probably most of you won't be playing too many matches on this map. But you just got to give some thought to the types of things we talked about, how to get that cover, how to save time and resources by analyzing the map and preparing beforehand for the specifics of the map, and against practice partners too.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right, well, Tree,
that'll-
thanks. And
For my guest appearance. Yeah.
yeah, and thanks to the guys who helped run the class and everything. And good luck to all you guys on your future Race for the Wool matches. And
Yeah.
And
hope
there
to
is a
see you.
comment. There is a comment saying, "Look at the time."
Look at the time.
You're good. You're only 5 minutes over.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
We're 3 minutes over.
Yep, there we go. Well, thanks
Yeah.
for teaching, Seth.
Yeah.
Yep.
No problem.